They've made you believe that the only way to get your baby to sleep through the night is to lock them in their room and let them cry alone until they give up from pure exhaustion. That is an absolute lie. And today I'm going to show you that science says the exact opposite. You are going to discover 5 sleep training methods that are so gentle, compassionate, and effective, you'll wonder why nobody told you about them sooner. We aren't going to ignore your baby's crying or break their trust. We are going to use their own biology in our favor to teach them how to sleep independently. And I want you to pay close attention, because method number 4 is a trick so little known and so absurdly effective that most sleep consultants would charge you thousands of dollars just to explain it to you. Get ready, because your nights of torture, of pacing the halls at 3 a.m. and drinking cold coffee, are about to end forever. Let's talk about the brutal reality of not sleeping. When you have a baby, everyone tells you you're going to be tired. They gift you cute pajamas and mugs that say Mama Bear or Papa Bear. But nobody prepares you for the physical and mental torture that is chronic sleep deprivation. We aren't talking about being a little sleepy. We are talking about a fatigue that sinks right into your bones. That level of exhaustion where you start forgetting really basic words. Where you start crying because you dropped a fork on the floor. And where you feel an unexplainable rage toward your partner just because you hear them breathing while they sleep. Sleep health studies show that new parents lose an average of 44 full days of sleep just during their baby's first year of life. That is more than a month of your life evaporating in the dark, fragmenting your rest into pieces so small that your brain never reaches the deep sleep phase it needs to repair your cells and keep your sanity. And this is where desperation kicks in. You hop on the internet at 4 a.m. with bloodshot eyes, looking for a magic solution. And the first thing you find is the famous extinction method, or crying it out. They tell you to put them in the crib, shut the door, and don't go back in until the next day, no matter how much they scream. For the vast majority of parents, this feels deeply wrong. It goes against every biological instinct you have in your body. Hearing your child cry in panic activates your own stress response. Your heart races, your hands sweat, and you feel crushing guilt. And the truth is, you don't have to go through that. You don't have to choose between sleeping and being a compassionate parent. There is a middle ground, and it's called gentle sleep training. To understand why these gentle methods work, you first have to understand why your baby wakes up in the first place. Imagine that we, as adults, sleep in long, smooth cycles like the waves of the ocean. We sink into deep sleep, and every now and then we come up to the surface, adjust our pillow, and sink back down without even remembering it. Babies, on the other hand, have very short sleep cycles, about 45 minutes long. Every time they finish a cycle, they wake up a little bit. And here is the problem. If your baby needs to be glued to your chest, or needs to be rocked hard in a rocking chair, or needs a bottle in their mouth to go from awake to asleep at 7 at night, their brain creates a rule. That rule says, I only know how to sleep if I am moving and having milk. So, when they naturally wake up at 2 a.m. at the end of a sleep cycle, they look around and panic. They were in warm, moving arms, and now they are alone on a flat, still mattress. They call out to you crying, not because they are hungry or in pain, but because they literally don't know how to turn their brain back off without your tools. The goal of gentle training isn't to force them not to cry. It's to teach them a life skill. It's to change the conditions in which they fall asleep, but doing it with your physical and emotional support present the entire time. Let's dive into the first method. It's called the chair method. And it's fantastic if you are someone who needs to be in the same room as your baby to feel calm. But you know your back can't take rocking them for hours anymore. The goal of this method is to withdraw your presence super gradually, so the baby gets used to their crib without feeling like you abandon them. It works like this. On night 1, you do your whole normal routine. Put on their pajamas, read them a story, and put them in their crib while they are awake. Then, you grab a comfortable chair and sit exactly next to the crib, so close that you can stick your hand through the bars. You can touch them, rub their chest, make soft she sounds, but the golden rule is you do not pick them up unless they are in a state of total panic. If they are just protesting or whining, you stay right there. Your presence tells them, I am here. You are safe. But today we are sleeping in the crib. You are going to stay in that chair until they are deeply and completely asleep. This might take an hour the first night. You will need patience. But here comes the magic. On day 4, you are going to move that chair to the middle of the room. You can't touch them anymore, but they can see and hear you. If they cry, you speak softly from the chair. 3 days later, you move the chair to the bedroom door. 3 days after that, the chair is in the hallway, out of sight. And by day 10 or 12, your baby will have learned to fall asleep in their space, knowing you are in the house, but without needing you to be their human mattress. The science behind this is object permanence. As you move away, their brain gets used to the idea that the crib is a safe place, and that they don't need continuous skin-to-skin contact to shut down their nervous system. The biggest mistake people make with this method is making eye contact, or starting to sing and talk a lot to the baby. You have to be as boring as possible. You are a statue that emits safety, not a children's party entertainer. Now, let's move on to the second method. This is called pick up, put down, popularized by the famous expert Tracy Hogg. This method is a favorite for younger babies, those between 4 and 6 months old, who get too upset if you just sit next to them and don't touch them. This method requires a lot of physical effort on your part, so get ready to do some squats. The idea is simple, but brilliant. You put your baby in the crib, awake. Obviously, since you are changing the rules of the game, it is very likely they will start to cry. If it's just a fuss, you wait a few seconds. But if they start really crying, a cry of need, you pick them up from the crib immediately. You don't let them suffer. You lift them, hold them against your chest, and comfort them. But here is the secret, and where 90% of parents fail: the exact millisecond the baby stops crying and relaxes, you put them back in the crib. Even if they are completely awake, what's going to happen? The moment their back touches the mattress, they will probably cry again. And what do? You pick them up again, you calm them down, they stop crying, and you put them back down. And you repeat this over and over and over. There are parents who have to do this 50, 60, or 70 times the first night. It's exhausting, I'm not going to lie to you. But what you are doing on a neurological level is incredible. You are teaching their brain to contradictory but essential things. First, you are telling them, whenever you need me and cry, I will come pick you up. I will never ignore you. And second, you are telling them, but when it's time to sleep, the place where we sleep is in the crib, not in my arms. By night 3 or 4 of doing this, the baby figures out the dynamic. They realize that crying doesn't get them a free ride to dreamland and mom's arms. It only gets them a short hug and then back to the mattress. So their brain decides it's not worth the effort to cry. They relax, and they fall asleep on their own in the crib. It's a tough love method but with super high emotional support. I just warn you, if you use this method, make sure you have a comfortable chair nearby to rest between lifts. And do not let the baby fall asleep in your arms for a single second. Because if they close their eyes on your chest, you broke the rule and have to start over. We've reached the third method. And this is for parents who feel their kids have an extreme dependency on something very specific, like the breast, the bottle, or the pacifier, to be able to sleep. It's called the fading method, and it's about removing the help like a ninja, so slowly that the baby barely even notices. Let's say your baby only falls asleep if you are bouncing them hard on a Pilates ball for 20 minutes. If you try to put them in the crib, cold turkey, it's going to be a disaster. With the fading method, you are going to reduce the intervention little by little. The first night, instead of bouncing them for 20 minutes until they are totally asleep, you bounce them for 18 minutes, until they are very drowsy, with heavy eyes. And you put them in the crib right before they fall completely asleep. The goal is for them to spend their last seconds of consciousness in the crib. The next day, you bounce them for 15 minutes. 2 days later, you bounce them for 10 minutes. Then only 5 minutes. Then you just hold them without moving. And finally, you put them in the crib, totally awake. You are fading your help as if you were turning down the volume on a radio very slowly. This method also applies to the schedule. Sometimes babies cry terribly when going to the crib, simply because they don't have enough sleep pressure. meaning they aren't tired enough. If you try to force a baby to sleep at 7 at night but their biological clock is set for 9, you are going to have a 2-hour war. Instead of that, put the baby to bed at 9, when you know they are very sleepy and will fall asleep fast in their crib. Then, every 2 days, you move bedtime up by 15 minutes to 8:45, then 8:30, and so on, until you reach the ideal time. You are pushing their internal clocks so gently that their body doesn't put up a fight. This method is the king of avoiding prolonged crying, but it requires a lot of consistency on your part. If you give them 5 minutes of help one day, and the next day you give up and give them 30, you are going to confuse them deeply. Now, get ready, because we are going into method number 4. Scheduled awakening. This is the secret weapon. This method isn't for teaching them to fall asleep at the beginning of the night. It is specifically for those babies who wake up at the exact same time every single night, as if they had an alarm in their brain. You know what I'm talking about. That baby who religiously wakes up at 3:15 in the morning, every night, and stays awake for 2 hours. This happens because the baby's body has created a biological habit. Their internal clock has gotten used to going from the light sleep phase straight into being awake at that exact time. How do we break that pattern? By hacking their sleep cycle. It works like this. If you know your baby is going to wake up at 3:15, you are going to set your own alarm for 2:45 in the morning. Half an hour before, you are going to go into their room in total darkness, like a ghost. You walk up to the crib and you are going to do something that sounds totally crazy. You are going to touch them gently. You can stroke their arm, touch their cheek, or move the blanket a little. The absolute goal here is not to wake them up completely. Please, do not wake them up. The goal is to bother them just enough so they make a little movement. You want them to sigh, turn their head, make a little noise. The millisecond they make that adjustment movement, you take your hand away and leave the room. What did you just do, scientifically? You just pulled their brain out of the sleep cycle it was in, and forced it to start a brand new deep sleep cycle. By restarting their brain's computer half an hour before their usual wake-up time, when 3:15 rolls around, they will be in the deepest phase of sleep, and will breeze right past it without waking up. It's like when your phone is about to freeze and you restart it just in time. This method seems like dark magic, but it's based on pure sleep neurology. You have to do it for about 3 or 4 nights in a row to erase the habit from their system. The only danger with this method is if you are too rough and wake them up completely, in which case you will have an angry baby at 3 a.m. and you are going to hate me. But if you master the gentle touch, this is going to change your life overnight. And finally, we arrive at method number 5. Constant presence or gentle touch. This method is designed for the most sensitive families, those who can't stand hearing their baby cry for even a minute, or for babies who have extreme separation anxiety. It is the slowest method of all, but it is incredibly loving. Instead of putting them in the crib and walking away, here you are going to become their safety mattress without holding them. You put them in the crib awake. Immediately you lie down on the floor next to the crib, or sit right up against the bars. And you are going to use your hands and your voice to simulate the environment of the mother's womb. You are going to make a continuous, loud she sound, almost like you are a vacuum cleaner. At the same time, you are going to put a heavy hand on their chest or their back, and give them rhythmic pat. 1, 2, 1, 2. Like a heartbeat. About 60 pats a minute. The baby will feel the physical pressure of your hand, hear the soothing sound, and feel the rhythm. All of this calms their sympathetic nervous system. They will start to relax. Their eyes will get heavy. But here is the critical step that makes this training, and not just you putting them to sleep. You have to stop the patting and remove your hand right before they fall completely asleep. If you leave your hand on their chest until they are in a deep sleep, you will create a new sleep association. You want to help them get 95% of the way there, but they have to do that last 5% on their own. If you take your hand away and they fuss, put it back, calm them down, and take it away again. The idea is that the last sensation they register before crossing the border into sleep is silence in the crib, not your hand. Over the days, you reduce the number of pats. Then you take away the voice, and then you just sit there until they don't need you at all. Now, I want us to talk about what happens in your mind when you decide to start this. Because the technique is easy to understand, but the emotional execution is where most families give up. The first day you try any of these methods, you are going to feel doubts. Your baby is going to protest. And that's normal. Imagine you've slept your whole life in a super comfortable bed, and suddenly someone tells you that, starting today, you sleep on the floor. You're going to complain. Your baby is complaining because you changed the rules on them, not because they don't love you, or because they are suffering irreversible trauma. You are right there with them, keeping them company. Day 3 is usually the worst. There is something in psychology called an extinction burst. It is the moment the baby's brain says, hey, my crying tricks to get picked up aren't working. I'm going to try 3 times as hard to see if I can get mom or dad to rock me. Night 3 can be chaotic. You are going to want to throw in the towel. You are going to look at your partner and say, this isn't working, let's go back to how it was. I just want to sleep, but I beg you to hold on. Because if you get past that barrier of night 3 or 4, the climax of this whole story happens. Night 5 arrives, or maybe night 7. You do your routine. You put on their pajamas. You put them in the crib awake, give them a kiss, and apply whichever method you chose. The baby closes their eyes in 5 minutes, without a single tear. You leave the room, lie down in your bed, and close your eyes waiting for the inevitable 2 a.m. crying. But suddenly, you open your eyes. You feel strange. You feel rested. You look at the window and see light coming in. Sunlight. You go into total panic mode. You feel like your heart is beating out of your chest. You grab your phone and see that it's 6:30 in the morning. You jump out of bed, tiptoe down the hall, thinking of the worst-case scenarios. You open their bedroom door slowly, holding your breath, and there they are. Your baby is lying down, breathing softly, completely asleep, with a look of absolute peace. They didn't need you all night. They knew how to connect their own sleep cycles. And you, for the first time in months, slept 8 hours straight in that moment. Something inside you clicks. You realize that you didn't just teach them to sleep. You saved yourself. That first day you wake up after a full night's sleep, you feel like you have superpowers. The colors in your house look brighter. You have the energy to make breakfast, to smile at your partner without resentment. And when your baby wakes up in the morning, they are happy, smiling, and deeply rested. Because the reality that nobody tells you is that a baby who wakes up 5 times a night is also exhausted and cranky during the day. By teaching them to sleep, you are giving them the gift of health. You go back to being the version of yourself you were before the extreme exhaustion. You have more patience to play. Your mind is clear to understand their needs. And the atmosphere of your whole house shifts from pure survival mode to a mode of happiness and enjoying parenting. Let's summarize this so it sticks in your mind. Because consistency is your only key to success. None of these methods will work if you try one on Monday, give up on Tuesday and pull them into your bed, and try a different one on Wednesday. You have to pick a path and commit to it for at least 7 to 10 days. You have the chair method to withdraw your presence little by little, by gaining distance. You have pick up, put down for the little ones, showing constant physical support, but teaching that the crib is the place to sleep. You have fading to take away that rocking or feeding help almost invisibly, and adjust their internal clock. You have the amazing scheduled awakening for those exact, habitual nighttime wake-ups. And you have constant presence to physically accompany them through every second of the process without creating emotion association. Pick the one that best fits your personality and your child's temperament. Always remember that before applying any of these techniques, your baby needs to have the right wake windows during the day, and a room that is a pitch-black bunker with white noise. Without that biological foundation, gentle training will be an uphill battle. Don't let fear paralyze you. Your baby is incredibly smart and adaptable. They just need you to be the calm leader who shows them the way to rest. If you want to discover why your baby's short naps are ruining their nighttime sleep, and how to lengthen them, starting today, click the video on the screen right now.